Welcome to Little Red Notebook's Take a Seat series, a series of short conversations with neurodiverse trailblazers. Zero pity, pure wins, and zero deficit talk. In this episode, we're joined by Kristy Gallirhir, a clinical psychologist, PhD candidate, researcher, advocate, and speaker. Kristy lives with late identified autism and ADHD. Welcome, Kristy.
Hi, good morning, SJ. Thanks so much for having me this morning.
It's great to have you. Gee, you're a busy person.
Yeah, yep. Yes, I am.
What creates that busyness? What's inside of you that goes, okay, I've got to do a PhD.
Yeah.
I'm going to research this. Yeah, let's get up on stage and speak.
Right? It's just always been there, which has been something that I've had to work with and slow down. This is actually a slowed down version of me. Um, so yeah, it's just, it's that real classic, I guess being a clinical psychologist, I have like the diagnostic criteria in my head all the time, right? And that
Yeah,
like on the go is
yeah,
a perfect descriptor of who I am. And I love it.
yeah.
It makes life interesting.
I was actually going to ask this question towards the end, but I'm going to ask it now, and that's the word curiosity, because I think within all this, there's a curiosity that I'd love to explore with you. Is that something important to you?
Yeah, totally. I think I probably wouldn't be where I am and followed the career path that I have if I didn't have that kind of intrinsic curiosity to like me. Definitely, I think the curiosity into how I work has been a big predecessor of my career journey and where I am. And then, yeah, just curious about the world and how it works and how other people work and how we can improve it, I guess, and get people living a happier life.
Yeah, curiosity is probably one of my spikes as well. And so, what are you curious about at the moment?
At the moment, I'm really leaning into the like research space. So, and it's something I've again probably has been curiosity that's led from lived experience and then has come maybe into more of my clinical work and like curious around why we have the systems that we have,
Hmm.
particularly in like diagnosis of like late diagnosed adult autistic people, and like curious around those systems that are in place or the lack of systems in place.
Yeah,
Curious about like how that can be changed for the better. So that's why I love like this podcast, and I love seeing neurodivergent people in this, talking about lived experience, because that helps a lot of that curiosity, because
yeah,
you don't know, right?
yeah, that's right. Fill us in on your journey towards your diagnosis of autism and ADHD. Did that come from a space of curiosity as well, or did that
Um,
just happen?
Kind of. So I guess I feel a little bit of that really classic female presentation of both ADHD and autism, where I grew up and I kind of just coasted a lot of the time until I didn't coast. And then what I think a lot of other people saw in like around me was things that was diagnosed as anxiety and depression. And that was just kind of, I guess, a label that I was given for like in my teenage years up until like my mid-20s. Uh, and I sought support and intervention and therapy for those things, but nothing worked. Um, and it was a really, really frustrating period of my life because I just didn't understand why I was the way I was compared to everyone else around me. And it was actually a psychologist that I was seeing when I was in my mid-20s who said, I think you might have ADHD. Have you ever considered that? And I was so offended. This was, this is quite some time ago. This was a little bit less than a decade ago.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of knowledge around ADHD, and particularly in females, and that there's even like a different kind of presentation.
Yeah.
So, highly offended, shut it down straight away. I was like, no, you don't know me. Meanwhile, I was like impulsively booking flights the next day to like Mexico. Like, I was, I was very much in denial that it was anything like ADHD.
Yeah.
I went a couple more years. I did a lot of travel. As I said, that was my outlet, I think, at that point. And it was actually kind of through a lot of my travels that I realized and found a bit of a pattern that the people that I was connecting with overseas were people who identified as like autism and ADHD. And I had more than 10 people tell me throughout a couple of years span, be like, I think you're one of us. Like, I think there's something there. And I came back to Australia and I started really kind of trying to focus on my studies at that point. And again, I met one more person who was like, this is like, I think this is ADHD. And yeah, I went through that process really quickly. And yep, I have like combined presentation and everything just clicked. Like when I got that diagnosis, I was like, okay, that's why I need to do 20 things in the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that also made a really big impact to how I was able to show up in university and jobs and like my kind of clinical career. So that was fantastic. Within 6 months of that diagnosis, though, I started to really identify some parts of me that just didn't fit with ADHD. And I was actually doing my clinical masters when I had a neurodivergent, he was openly neurodivergent, a lecturer came in and did an intensive on autism.
Mm-hmm.
And, the irony of me sitting in the room at the back with a literal umbrella and sunglasses on because I am so sensitive to fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
That this lecturer ended up kind of pulling me aside and was like, what's that about? And yeah, to be really honest, I think the only way that I was able to collect that information on autism and how that presented for me was actually only because I had that really direct, both like seeing someone with lived experience and also
Yeah.
like a real clinical knowledge that
Yeah.
beyond, I guess, like what's in the understanding of autism in
Yeah.
society and our community. So a very long journey.
But a series of moments, wasn't it?
Mm.
It was a series of moments that kind of give you the push towards the next part. Yeah. So when you finally got the official diagnosis, what was that moment like for you?
I cried. Like I just cried. I had grown up always looking like I fit in, but never feeling like I fit in. And
Yeah.
always had comments around that I was too sensitive, or, why could I not let things go? Just there was always comments growing up, and I just never felt like everyone else.
Yeah.
So when I actually had the diagnosis of autism, I actually said to the assessor, I actually had a bit of a cry during my assessment, because I was like, I don't know if this is what it is, and like I want you to tell me if it is, because I need to know if it is or if it's not.
Yeah.
And when he said yes, like, and gave me the diagnosis, I remember him saying, "Welcome to the club."
Mm,
And I just like, I was crying because I maybe had felt like I had come home for the first time.
wow. That must have been a very cathartic moment.
It was. And I also really acknowledge that my experiences of getting diagnosed have been really good. And I have had like the knowledge to seek out people who are highly skilled and like neuroaffirming, um,
Yeah,
because that experience, I think, did contribute to how much I've been able to move forward.
yeah. The I suppose the experience of going through life without the diagnosis and then going through life with the diagnosis, how has that helped shape, your life since?
Yeah. I think that's my favorite question, like ever, because um you grow up both, as a child and as a teenager and then as an adult of learning how your brain doesn't work. Like
Yeah,
I have 25 years experience of knowing what doesn't work for me and
yeah,
things that I can't do or I don't want to do, or there's so much friction for me to do.
yeah,
So I think while it has been very challenging, that aspect of my life has also been so huge to how I live now, because I know so much more about myself. And now knowing how I work and knowing how my brain works, and knowing that if I just need to sit in a corner and like sniff eucalyptus oil for 5 minutes to like regulate myself, then that's what I'm going to do, and that's totally fine, and there's nothing negative
yeah,
about that. It's funny, it's kind of like that AD, right? Like before diagnosis and after
yeah,
diagnosis.
exactly. Yeah,
But yeah, it's been, yeah, I think my life is just like, if I could explain it in any way, it would be that like my life is in color now, and before it
yeah,
was like grayscale, black and white.
yeah. I love the analogy. Yeah.
I love metaphors and I love analogies, so I will bring them up often.
The Kinnear psychology is your baby. Tell us about it,
Yeah.
especially after this previous conversation, because it must have shaped it in a way which must be quite exciting for you.
Yeah. I think I I mean my goal for my like career was always to support people who had gone through or experienced, similar things that I had. Um, and I guess, before my diagnosis, I didn't know what that was. I thought that was just, young girls and um, people who, had low self-esteem and those types of things. While now, like that obviously shifted when I realized that no, my experience is actually autism and ADHD, and that later diagnosis lived experience. When I got diagnosed, I finished my master's, and then I have kind of sat on like, what can I do from here? What does this look like now for me? And I was trying to come up with, I was thinking about names, and my last name is a bit interesting. It's very Irish. Um, and I was looking at like Gaelic words. So
Yep,
I came to Kinnair because kin means mind, and
yep.
air means alike. So alike mind. And
Oh,
I saw it and I just thought that is just so fitting. And so Kinnair, at the moment, it's my private practice. So it's where I support late diagnosed neurodivergent people, but I also do a lot of like trauma informed, just because my clinical background is also in a lot of trauma,
yeah,
which the two tend to go a little bit more hand in hand. Um, but the other side of Kinnair that I'm really like, if we want to get back to that curiosity again, it's I love creating resources. So I love creating tools, particularly like just digital tools, so they're super accessible for anyone to get their hands on, that are just like psychoeducation. I guess I've thought about this like quite a lot, is like, why do I have such a pull towards like those psychoeducation resources?
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to, well, in my experience, what helped me the most was having access to that knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's been my journey and kind of, where I'm at the moment with Kinner.
How do you see the state of play when it comes to autism, especially with adults diagnosed with autism? Is that what are the key differences that you're witnessing and seeing in that space?
Like for late diagnosed autistic?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess in my experience is that what I'm seeing at the moment, and in my master's dissertation, this is something that I also touched on, was there is obviously such an increase in the last couple of years of diagnoses, both self-diagnosis and also like a clinical diagnosis from a health professional. So there's that's one thing, but then the other thing is, why is this happening now?
Yeah.
Right. And what I can see is that there's more knowledge and there's more education out there. So that's great, because a lot of people are learning to identify more with, how their brain works and what makes them them. But I think the other thing is, a lot of people who are either going through the diagnosis process or the self-diagnosis process, that's the first part, right? Like, they might even, for some people, it's hard to even get to that stage of diagnosis, but then
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Like, it just drops off, and there's nothing there. There's nothing in place. There's no systems there in place for people once they get that diagnosis. So what I find is that I'm getting presentations or clients who maybe have gone through either the self-diagnosis or the diagnosis, and they're coming to me and they're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do?
What's next?
What's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I'm finding now in
Yeah.
the population.
And that leads into your PhD that you're doing through Bond University, because you're
Yeah.
researching this clinical aftercare, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, based on what I was seeing I think just kind of learning the process of assessments in my master's, going through the process myself, and I was like, there's a gap here. Like, what are we doing? Like, we give people a report and then that's it. Like, they're kind of on their own to navigate. And then, that kind of led me into looking, like, what should be the aftercare that we as clinicians and mental health professionals, what should we be providing for, especially a population where, you know, if we want to use like the criteria, right, it's neurodevelopmental. This has been around since they were little and they've never had support. So why are they not getting
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
So definitely that's where the PhD is going at the moment. So trying to figure out, because at the moment there's no framework. So trying to figure out
Yeah.
what that framework would look like, how
Yeah.
that kind of molded by lived experience,
Yeah.
autistic people, and also by like neuroaffirming clinicians who, there's clinicians out there who are doing this work. So
Yeah.
trying to get that more formalized and kind of out there for everyone.
Yeah. It's such an important topic, isn't it? And I know when I was diagnosed, it was all these mixed emotions, and on one hand it was relief. Okay, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, and I understand what I've got now. But what do I do with it? Well, what's it about? How do I navigate this? What's next?
And it's such a big, again with my metaphors, and I apologize, but it's such a big mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Even being able to show up to go through that diagnosis, to go through that process. And again, whether or not that's self-diagnosis or not, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
When you come off that mountain, there's another mountain waiting for you.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much grief in that. There's so much, sometimes like there's some disconnection that can happen there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need, as health professionals, I think we need to bridge that gap.
I'm going to change the flow a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us about Coda.
Coda.
Coda, your
Coda.
gorgeous husky.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that dog. He's my favorite. Would I ever get a husky again? I don't know, but he is nearly 10 in December. I've had him for a really long time. He's just my favorite, fluffy, soft. I'm in his face all the time, and he's so patient. So he isn't a therapy dog. He needs to live out his life doing what he does best, which is sit in the rain outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most of my telehealth clients will have seen or heard Coda, because he'll be walking around the back, or he'll just start talking to me mid-session. So
Because they're very expressive dogs, aren't they?
very. He talks more than I do.
What does he tell you? What's the gist of the conversation?
It's usually like, I want this, or I
Okay.
want your attention.
Yeah.
Even last night, me and my partner were eating dinner, and he runs to the door, and I'm like, okay. So I walk all the way over the door, I open it, and he looks at me, he barks, and then he jumps back on the bed. So sometimes he's just doing it just to get my steps up, I think.
You mentioned he's not a therapy dog, but I imagine he's been important in your journey.
Yeah, he's definitely been my therapy dog. I don't know, it just kind of maybe I'm probably someone who I do really need a lot of alone time, and I have to really measure that out in my weeks. But something like having a dog or having any sort of pet and just coexisting next to them is probably like body doubling, actually, the more that I think about it. I probably body double with him all the time. But yeah.
That's a great description.
Yeah. No, he's the best.
You mentioned about alone time, and one of the things when I was researching that you love nature.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always loved walking. I can't run at all. But I walk, and when I am in, because it kind of, ebbs and flows of when I've got the energy, but when I do walk, I tend to like Forrest Gump it. Like I'll just keep walking. And yeah, there's something, I've got like a few walks around where I live, and it's just nice to just have space, I think, from being around and having, just being able to physically process.
Yeah. What does nature give you? What does it provide you?
I think calmness, and peace, because kind of as we touched on at the start, my brain really doesn't stop. So it is probably one of the few things that I can do, and like time actually starts to slow down a little bit. And yeah, it's probably my biggest relaxation technique.
One of the other things I read about you, and I'm a music lover, and one of the things I'm very proud of is my vinyl collection.
Yes.
This is a thing for you too, isn't it?
It actually is. It is. It's 100% one of my special interests, but it's particularly vinyls that are like limited edition or have like a specific type of press.
Right.
I tend to have this fascination with rare or individual kind of pieces. I do the same with plants. I love variegated plants. So when they have like the splotches of white or things.
Yep.
But my vinyl collection is getting wildly out of hand. I actually just ordered 2 more yesterday, so it's really funny that you mentioned. But
What's the record that we find most on your turntable?
the most, I do listen to a lot of Taylor Swift. I'm a massive
Right.
Swiftie. What else do I have? What's that? At the moment, I've been really into disco,
Right.
which has been quite fun to find more of those, like actually go vinyl sourcing and finding
Yep.
it's really old records. So that's been really cool. I do have a favorite vinyl, like my
Yep.
least favorite. So
Yeah.
it's a Pink Floyd original pressing of Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, original pressing.
Original pressing, and it's like this, it's kind of actually like a really similar pink to this.
Yeah.
I got it when I was like backpacking when I was in Paris, and I remember this man was like, I think I was just looking at a t-shirt that had Dark Side of the Moon on it, and he was like, "Oh, come with me," and I was like, "Oh my goodness, where is this going?" And he pulls out this original pressing, and it was like 20 euros. It was so
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
You must have been carrying that around like it was gold.
I was like not safe. Yeah, yeah. I've got a few. Europe's definitely like the best for finding limited edition vinyls. I've got like a original Bowie and original Queen that I think I got for like €2. It's just so cool. I
What is it about Floyd?
think it's just real.
Yeah.
I think it's just real. I think I'm a bit of a nihilist person, surprisingly. And I think there's like a realness to that comes through their music.
And Taylor Swift, I'm assuming you've bought the new one,
Yeah. Oh no, it's a pre-order. So I have
pre-ordered the vinyl.
yeah. 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 She's got some really cool like variants too of different vinyls. So yeah, it's always fun when something like that drops.
Last question. This has been so much fun. If you had to give one piece of advice to the pre-diagnosed you, what would it be?
It would be like the connection exists. I think back to a lot of my experiences, which was like feeling alienated, feeling like I didn't belong. And I think if I could go back, I would say like the connection does exist.
Yeah.
And leaning into like what makes me work and like what makes my brain tick is the things that like will bring me the most joy. So just really leaning into that who I am is actually really cool and doesn't need to be changed.
No, it's a beautiful way to end.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful having you, Kristy.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
I really appreciate having you on, and good luck with all of your adventures, and especially with Coda.
Thank you. Thank you so much.